Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. The last day of the year is upon us, and it's not a great year for West Ham. It's been a terrible year, actually, but we did avoid just making history last night. Had we got beaten by Brighton, we would have lost more games at home in a calendar year than we've ever done before. We've lost 11 in 2025. We've never lost 12. So we avoided making history. Thank you very much for joining us. You're watching live. Please get involved in the live chat. Give us your thoughts on anything West Ham. It could be about last night's game. It could be about Nuno. It could be about the transfer window, which, of course, opens tomorrow. Lots to talk about, so do get involved. Don't be shy. Me and Frankie will be getting your comments up on the screen here throughout the show and having a little discussion around what you want to discuss. Frankie, how is oneself?
Yeah, all right, not too bad. Yeah, it's just coming away feeling a bit flat, to be honest. But that's two games, that Fulham game and that game, just feel a bit like you said. I'm not angry or whatever. I just feel a little bit like, I don't know, just almost like the writing's on the wall a little bit. But yeah, what can you do?
Your boy was mascot last night. Did he enjoy it?
Loved it. Loved every second of it. Embraced it. Enjoyed the environment. They were, him and his teammate who he did it with was, they were causing carnage on the side of the pitch. They weren't allowed footballs to go on the surface. And if they did, then the guy would have to go and get the ball back. But the parent of the kid I was with volleyed one over, and they all went charging on the pitch. They were just in their element, Gio, just loving life and enjoying themselves. And no, I think they come away. It's a perfect age, I would say. I think they took it all in, enjoyed every single bit of it, and I think they'll remember it forever, really. So good.
Good. Absolutely love that. Right, we've got a poll in the live chat at the minute, just asking what you're feeling in terms of relegation. Currently, 3 options, obviously. Well, not obviously. Usually there's 2, isn't there? Yes or no. Do you think we'll get relegated? Yes or no. But there is a third one. Because I think some people just don't have a strong feeling either way. So I always like to give you the option to say, well, I'm not convinced we're going to go down, but I'm also not convinced we're going to stay up and be in the middle. So select whatever option reflects your opinion. And at the end of the show, we will end the poll and get the results and see what the vibe is. Because it's going to be interesting if we do this game by game, how the percentages alter week by week depending on the results, because the results went our way last night, Frankie, away from West Ham. The big one, Everton beating Nottingham Forest, and potentially sets us up for a big game on Tuesday. On Saturday we obviously go to Wolves, and Nottingham Forest go to Aston Villa, and it's a big if, but should we win and Forest lose, we host them on Tuesday, and if we win, we would come out the relegation zone. So there is maybe a little bit of hope on the horizon, but there's a lot of if, buts, and maybes to be considered a little bit. Now, before we talk about the game, Frankie, I want to discuss comments that Nuno made, actually, because I think he's put it on David Sullivan a little bit, and I quite like it. Nuno said, in terms of squad, we need to rebalance our squad. We need to make the right moves in a very difficult transfer window, but we need to do it so we can improve and have more options for the second half of the season. I have a clear idea about everything. This is our job. It's up to us to pass information to the club so they're aware of what we need. It's coming in a couple of days. The reflection is clear. The sooner, the better. That is what Nuno had to say in regards to the transfer window. You nodding your head?
Well, after last night, the penny dropped, and a lot of the games that come before it, it's all become very clear now. He must have already been given the green light. They must have already the best striker available in this window lined up, ready to come in. He must have £200 million to spend, because in the last 5 minutes of that game last night, there was only one team actually ambitious to try and win the game, and it weren't us. So we're obviously very calm and so convinced that in the new year, all these new players are going to come in and we're going to do brilliant business and the board are going to back him, because he don't try and win the games that are in front of him. So he must already be thinking, don't worry about these ones. Absolutely fine. When I get all these amazing new players that are going to come in, then we're going to get enough points that we'll get out of trouble. So, yeah, I'm very relaxed now, Gio, to be honest. I'm nice and calm. And it's very clear with how he can let these points slip away from us without actually trying to go and win football matches. That there must be something big around the corner, Gio. So I'm really relaxed now. I'm really calm.
I think I had a bit more sympathy for Nuno last night than perhaps you do. I think, listen, I'm not saying what you said is true, right? We did not, I didn't feel like we were trying to win the game. I felt like we were clinging on for the point at the end, and there was only one team. If there was another 10 minutes in that game, I think we would have lost. I think we were running out of time. It was just a case of, could we get to the full-time whistle before we concede? And the answer was yes. But I did feel sorry for him yesterday, and I appreciate there's a lot of it, but again, there's a lot of, you can come back at me here, and I'm aware of that. I've done it myself in the player ratings. But I think it depends what you think about Wilson. I thought he was absolutely shattered, Callum Wilson. I know taking him off and bringing Somerville, I understand the frustration, but I thought Wilson was done. I thought he was absolutely goosed by the time he went off. So Somerville coming on, I didn't have an issue with this. I had an issue with the deployment of Paqueta up front instead of Jared Bowen, but I didn't have an issue with the sub. I understood it. And then as the game went on, I was thinking about the bench. I thought, there's not really anyone I want to see. I didn't really have a desire to see Thomas Soucek. I didn't really have a desire to see Kante. Didn't want to see Myers because I thought Walker Peters and Scars were both playing well. So I was thinking the bench is just maybe George Earthy, but the bench was so poor last night. And I thought, right, maybe if we did have a transfer window and on the bench, he had Larson, he had a winger, he had a different midfielder, maybe we would have been able to go on and be a bit more adventurous. But again, he's playing Nottingham Forest tactics with West Ham players. I think if he was at Nottingham Forest, if he had Forest team from last season, I think he wins that game last night. It's just, I think the squad let him down last night. But I appreciate what you're going to say is, well, why not have Marshall on the bench? And I agree, right? I agree with that. But we had 4 academy players on the bench. We can agree that Kante is an academy player, with 4 of them on the pitch at full time. I think Potts is good enough for the Premier League. I'm unsure the other 3 are yet. They might be, but I don't know. I don't have enough evidence. And I would say the same thing for Callum Marshall, for Guilherme, for Earthy, whichever one we could have had on the bench instead or brought them on. I still don't know if they're good enough for the Premier League either. Yeah, I don't think the squad helped him last night, but I felt Wilson was goosed. So
yeah, I'm not too. That's not my complaint. And so many people around us were doing the same and and moaning and screaming the same things. And the general sort of shout from the crowd for the last 10, 15 minutes was press the ball, get the ball. Yeah. We need points. So it was, forget subs, forget squad, forget everything. There was no ambition to get forward and try and get a winner. They had the ambition to try and get forward and get a winner. For the last 5 minutes, I actually thought we rode our luck a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
And it was like, just do you. And it was even like getting the ball. Like when the goal, it went behind for a goal kick. Get the ball. We need a goal. We need points. It's that whole mentality at the moment just seems so calm and so relaxed. It's so, that's my issue. It isn't the squad. It isn't the subs. It's get the ball. I don't see any urgency or any understanding of the position we're in. You're 2-2. I actually think, and I don't think the subs were necessarily, like you said, the only one I thought had a bit about him when he come on was Kante. I thought he was a bit of a nuisance. He was getting the ball and driving forward out of midfield, and his sort of legs at the end could have created something, to be honest. So I was quite happy with that. But it was just an attitude, a mentality thing. It was a lack of urgency. It was a lack of, we're at home, you're 2-2, go and get a goal, go and win the game. So that's my silly.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree with what you're saying for what it's worth. I do agree with the lack of urgency, because I thought for the first 9 minutes, until we scored, I thought we were stinking that place out early doors in the game. I thought we were terrible. I thought there was no energy, there was no tempo. I thought, wow, this is really bad. And then we scored, and I thought it gave us a bit of a lift, actually, and we started to look a bit better after we made it 1-0. But until we got that goal, bloody hell.
We couldn't touch the ball. They was going, when they kicked off, they went pass, 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 then had a shot, and we didn't get near the ball.
Then we took a goal kick and hoofed it down the pitch and said, there you go.
Yeah, we were so fortunate to find ourselves 1-0 up. So fortunate. That did not come by design. That was pure, just
well, it hit James Milner in the back of the head and landed to Paqueta.
Yeah, it was just a bit of fortune. It was just the ball fell for us nicely. And look, Paqueta's still got to play that ball through, and Bowen's still got to do his job and put it in the back of the net. I'm not knocking that. I think, those two did exactly what they needed to do, and that's great. But we didn't look good until that point. And I mean, we looked really poor until that point. And this, again, we don't capitalise on any little advantage we get. Every time we get something that goes our way, I never feel like we then go and grasp it with both hands. And yeah, as much as I know a lot of people were okay with the performance last night and seemed pretty positive about it, that bit of fortune at the beginning there, and I know I always say you make your own luck. So, I'm not knocking it too much, but the fact that penalty miss, the game could look very, very different right now. So I'm not totally, convinced that it was a good performance. So.
I thought I was feeling okay after the game. I didn't think I was positive nor negative. I felt I was quite neutral to it. I think there were some positives and some negatives, therefore that's why I was sort of neutral. And I was just reading some of the comments on the review, replying to them before we went live, and someone said, "Oh, you need to stop making videos. You're too negative." I thought, I don't think I'm that bad, actually, after the game last night. So I said, I just strongly advise you don't go read and listen to other people, because there's people far angrier than I am last night. I'm okay with it. I think the performance is okay, lacking squad depth. A draw in isolation is good. 2 points against Brighton over the course of a season. It's an all right return. It's not great. It's not bad. But given our situation, therefore, I don't think it's a good point. I think we do not have, this was what I was stressing last night, we're not in the territory of do not lose games. We're in the territory of must win games. And if you can get points on board, then you can go back into the do not lose mentality. But we're not there yet. You've got to be 5, 6, 7 points clear of relegation before you can have that. Leeds can have a do not lose mentality because they've got enough points between us and them. They can get game week to game week to game week because they've got the advantage now. They know that Nottingham Forest have lost. They know we've only drawn. So if they draw away to Liverpool, they've not lost any ground whatsoever. They don't need to win now. So they're in that do not lose category at the minute. We are, well, quite a few points away from that. But I will say this, I've got a little bit deluded, Frankie, because I've thought, right, we beat Wolves, Villa beat Forest, Tuesday night, it's game on then. It's game on, and we've got to do it. We've got to set up that game on thing against Forest, because a lot of Everton fans have been commenting on the review saying, lads, they're crap. They were crap. You'll be all right against them. They are not good. So when I've watched Forest, though, they've been Jekyll and Hyde. I've seen some good performances, but I've seen some bad ones for them under Dyche as well. Pig saying, man, when you really need a strong window, if we don't beat Wolves, we are cooked. Nino saying, yesterday was a must-win, which we didn't win. Michael saying, the worst run club in the Premier League with the worst owners. John is feeling positive. We've got 20 games left. It's up to us. A couple of signings will give us a real chance. Chippy saying we can stay up, but we need a striker, a centre-back or two. We need Paqueta to behave like an adult. And Nuno to be bold, not bald. Rancid saying, Happy New Year, Hammers. Hope we can win at home during this calendar year. Frankie, if you see any comments you want to discuss, just star them like you did last time, please. John saying, will be difficult to get players in. Not ideal, but we need to get lucky on a couple of punts. Essex Brick saying, Head says we are down as we can't keep a clean sheet. Heart, however, says, beat Forest, beat Wolves, and we're back in it. Yeah, that's like me. I'll be honest with you. I was emotionally dead before the game yesterday. I didn't really have any feeling. And at 1-0, I was happy. But once it kicked off after their missed penalty, once that bit of aggro got going, I got going. By halftime, I was ready to run on the pitch and start chinning Danny Welbeck and stuff. And I needed it. West Ham dragged me back in a little bit emotionally. Thanks to that literally fighting on the pitch. It got me... How was the atmosphere last night? I've heard some good things about it.
Joe, you just spoke about positivity there. Our fans are unbelievable. We know it and we say it a lot, but they were fantastic last night from all three corners of the ground, from over underneath, so block 130, over in the corner where you've got the boys who are trying to get a bit of atmosphere going, and actually over in the corner where the away fans are, which used to be a real good hotbed of atmosphere.
1-1-2, yeah.
They were fantastic. And Ollie Scholes, the reception he got when he went over to take a corner, mate, it made the hairs stand up on the back of your neck. It was fantastic. I said to you, I hoped we had an away game. So he got his whatever. That everyone was on their feet. And Callum Wilson, the applause he got when he come off, as he was walking around the pitch, every single person was standing up, clapping him and applauding the effort that he'd put in on the pitch. Our fans are brilliant, mate, and we deserve... This has been commented quite a few times by West Ham legends at the moment and stuff like that. A lot of interviews and a lot of talks that they do, they just say we deserve better. And we do, because we are... There was a lot of empty seats last night. Don't get me wrong. There was, it wasn't full by any stretch of the imagination, but the fans that were in there really did try and get behind them, and it was really good to see. And on that, Skulls, what a performance! He was incredible.
Yeah, that's good. I watch it on mute because I'm doing a watch along, so I have no commentary, no noise. So I don't know what the noise is in the ground, but I've seen people saying the atmosphere was good, and people in the review that attended the match were saying that was one of the better atmospheres for a little while, actually, which is good because, like I say, you can believe in your heart. You can think, oh, we're going to get relegated. You can think that, but doesn't necessarily. That's why I get frustrated when people say, oh, stop moaning and get behind the team. Now, I'm not attending games at the minute for reasons that I've discussed and I don't need to go into, but just because you think we're going to go down, or you think this player's not playing well, or the manager's tactics aren't great, it doesn't mean you're going to sit there with your arms folded and be silent. You can... As soon as you get to the turnstile, you park your opinions, you go in, you support the team, and when you leave, you pick your opinions back up again. I think that's normal for a football fan in most occasions. That's why I get frustrated when someone says, basically saying, stop having an opinion, get behind the team. I think, but you can do both, right? You can... I always go back to that example. I once tweeted about Felipe Anderson, just saying I didn't think he was... I can't remember what it was. I basically said Felipe Anderson was crap, and someone said, how about you get behind him and support him? I was like, I do, mate. When I go to the games, as I did back then, I don't read out my tweet. I go, Felipe, I said this. I pretend he's flipping Messi for 90 minutes, right? If he skins someone, I'm cheering. I want him to make me look like a mug, right? When I think someone's crap, I want to be wrong. So I was pleased to hear that people enjoy the atmosphere in the Ironworks Alliance. Boys are doing good work and stuff. I've heard good things about people that have gone round to the concourse before the game, joined in the chants and stuff, and took their seats, and they're up for the game a little bit then because they've had a little beer, a little sing song, and it's obviously working last night.
There's something that can make a massive difference, Gio, right now, that the board could do, that anybody who does these petitions and stuff can do. Go and get that wall removed between the home fans and the away fans. It's 100%. Not necessary anymore. We don't need it. And the atmosphere, they were all on their feet in that section last night, up clapping, and it makes a big difference. We're going to need that home form in the second half of the season. And if we can get noise and we can get energy in that stadium, it's going to help massively. If the board, I know they've got the transfer window to focus on, that is obviously the most important thing. But if there's one thing they could do, or one thing that the people who protest could add to their list, it is just go and take that wall down. It would take 5 minutes, and it would make a massive difference to our atmosphere until the end of the season.
James said, thanks to Hammers Chat, thanks to myself, Gonzo, yourself, Frankie. 100% sticking with Hammers Chat, even if we get relegated. Guys, I said, everyone's forgetting that Leeds and Forest will be buying players, so they will be getting better, not just us. Leeds are struggling financially, guys, because they're a newly promoted team. They don't have the same flexibility as we do. Basically, PSR, Premier League clubs that have been in the Premier League for 3 seasons can lose 105 million over 3 years. Promoted teams cannot lose 105 million. They've only got 1 year of Premier League, so they get 35 million for the season, but in the Championship you can't lose that much money. So Leeds are up against it for PSR, really. So they've got a couple of players who can sell to bring in some funds, but they're a bit more sell to buy, whereas we can buy and then try and shift some deadwood out. So I think we've got a slight advantage over Leeds. I don't know what Nottingham Forest's financial situation is, but I would be surprised if they could spend loads, given they had quite a big spend up. They do have European football, of course, but also they are still, I think, on the watch list for PSR because of the punishment a couple of seasons ago. Quaiders, thank you very much for the support. Saying cheers for the great content this year, chaps, and a £5 super chat as well. Thank you very much for your support. David saying, all problems, Nuno can't help sitting back on a lead, so relegation it is. New players will not make a difference. Charles saying we got lucky to hold on for a point. Why did we let Fulker go, leaving us with half a striker? Billy saying we beat Wolves and Nottingham Forest, and Forest failed to beat Villa. We are out of the bottom 3. John's glad that Albi enjoyed being. a mascot last night. Chippy is saying our tendency to be passive, which may or may not be a direct result of Nuno's instructions, may be a bigger factor than transfers or form. I think Paqueta's style contributes to us being passive. Essex, thank you very much for your £5 support. He's saying, echoing Quiz, thanks for the content this year, and hopefully a better 2026 is on the horizon. Do you agree with that about what you said about Paqueta? Paqueta contributing. What did you make of his performance last night? A bit of a strange one, weren't it?
It was the good, the bad, and the ugly of Paqueta, to be honest. We saw the lovely pass, but for me, it was really interesting because I sat next to, surprise, surprise, in the London Stadium, a fan who wasn't a West Ham fan and supported a different football club. But it was interesting to get someone's take on something when they're not emotionally invested like we are. And he was so frustrated with Paqueta's performance. He was just moaning about the lack of application, the lack of energy, the lack of movement. And when he come off at the end now, he went down when we're trying to defend.
Yeah,
the worst time to go down was he actually thinks he's good at this play acting and he ain't. He's useless at it. He goes down when the ref's never going to stop the game. And I thought, we need you in that box right now, helping the defence. I thought the bad side of Paqueta massively outweighed the good side of him last night, giving away the penalty, just his attitude. He's just got a real chip on his shoulder, and I don't really understand the reason, because I thought there was a real big effort last night from Potts, Magassa, Skulls. I thought they gave everything, and I thought he didn't give anywhere near what he's capable of. So yeah, I was disappointed with it.
The free kick late on stressed me out when the boys came up for it. Free kick just inside their half. Potts went to take it. Paqueta went short, got it, and then stood still and held his back. And they ran off on the counter attack. And I thought, what are you doing? Potts shouldn't have passed it to him. He shouldn't have went and got it. And if you are going to get it and suddenly go, oh my God, my back, so thump it out for a throw in or something. But he just stood still. I think he expected Brighton to go, oh, he's injured, we'll all just stop playing. But Brighton went, oh, we're having that. Thank you very much. Luke said Wilson didn't have to run around leading the press. He could just occupy the defenders and allow Somerville and Bowen to run in behind. As soon as he came off, we had no focal point. So I agree with that. I think we missed Callum Wilson when he went off the pitch. I'm not keen on Paqueta's this false nine thing. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I struggle to see the benefits of it. It's not for me. Paul saying a big up to all his scars. He played well and showed real strength and fortitude after his mistake against Fulham. I agree we need Wilson for 90 minutes, but he did look gassed. I'll talk about Ivan Toney in the live chat. I'm just trying to skip the live chat as much as I can because I appreciate there's a lot of comments coming in. Hammer75 saying going down, no ifs or buts about it. A good old minus goal difference never fails to deliver. John's asking for an update on Tadib's injury. He has a scan today. Tadiba's going for a scan, which is never a good thing because basically you're just determining how serious it is, aren't you? It's like, right, you're injured. Just how injured are you? So it's a bit of a concern, especially with Wolves on Saturday, Forest on Tuesday. Maybe means the centre back is a bigger priority. Maybe we were, targeting the strikers. We would discuss. You were saying striker. Would you prioritize the centre back now if Tadib's news is bad, or would you? I know you think we need both, by the way. I know that. I agree. But what would it change your plans, or would you?
I think you've got to stick with we need a striker, and I think you've just got to go and dig deeper into your pockets to now go and get a defender. That's it.
Completely agree. Speaking of digging deep into the pockets, thank you for the $8 Fortunes down under TV saying, Frankie, can you sign Kilman for Cray Wanderers? Asking for a friend. Love this show and Happy New Year from Brisbane. For people who don't know, we don't make defenders like Kilman. Mark Gahey is a product of Cray Wanderers. That's the type of defender we create, not Max Kilman. What's the club's other claim to fame? Is there I imagine there's quite a few that's going on to make it big time in the Premier League. So that's the main one at the moment. He's obviously winning the FA Cup. You're aware of? There are, but they're not names like that. They're not big names. They're always ones that sort of didn't go on to achieve like what he's achieved. That's a big claim, really, that we've created an FA Cup winning
defender.
Yeah,
So
love that. So it's saying I went to the game sort of a lot different. I thought we played well and was fighting for the ball. I'm happy with how we did. I thought we were fighting for the ball. I don't. Well, I guess unless you mean like the lack of press kind of thing. I think we fought for the ball once it entered our third. Does that make sense? I think we were maybe a little bit too easy to allow them to come close to our box. But listen, I've got no complaints about the players' attitudes, the players' effort. I'm concerned about the fitness because I think come the 70th, 80th minute, everyone looks tired. But there was rumours in the summer that Potter isn't the biggest fan of strength and conditioning kind of thing, and he didn't really focus on it too much. And if that's true, then maybe this is part of the reason. But I feel like everybody's a bit tired at the minute. Like Potts got tired, Magasser was getting tired. Is anyone not getting tired? But yeah, I've got no complaints about the attitude from the players. If anything, I'm quite pleased by it because I think it's quite easy to maybe let your head drop in this situation. But I don't sense that at the minute, Frankie.
No, I don't know, Joe. I'd comment that it's hard when you haven't got the ball, and we don't have the ball. Obviously, letting the ball do the work makes it a lot easier on fitness and so on, but we don't press either. So I don't know whether it's a momentum thing that just keeps us looking so drained and like just whatever, but we definitely look like we get to the last 10 minutes of games and really struggle. But I don't really see them covering that much ground. It's a funny one, but yeah, we were struggling at the end there last night, and it seems to be the same every game.
I think we do press sometimes, but we don't do it as a team. I think often you'll see Bourne run after it, and then they just pass to another player, and it's like, well, there's no backup. The backup hasn't arrived, and it's like a one-man press, which is quite easy to bypass. I think that's my frustration at times. Thank you to Mary Poppins as well for the $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Luke saying there was lots of Matoma fans in the home end yesterday. Having said that, there were some great German West Ham fans in front of us jumping and chanting all game. We do have a lot of good overseas fans.
There was loads, Gio, of Colorado Soccer Club fans. I think they had about 160 fans in there last night, spread around the stadium. They've come over from the States to play against English football teams. It's like a little football tour that they're on. And yeah, we was lucky enough to meet a few of them and have a bit of a chat with a few of them. So yes, that sort of stuff. As a tourist fan, you don't mind. Matoma fans, I'm not too sure about that, to be honest.
Steve saying, how significant do you think it is that Sullivan refused to pay for Nuno's backroom staff? My own opinion is it must have had a detrimental effect on him.
I mean, his communication says differently. There was a West Ham podcast just before Christmas. It might have even been the day before Christmas. The one that the club put out. No. Interesting watch. If anyone hasn't watched it, go and watch it. Well, I don't know, because it actually won't cheer you up. But he sort of comments on that there. And he just says how professional they are, how important it was that you had people who knew the football club and had been around the football club. He's trying to convince you that he agreed and was on board with the staff that he had around him and promoting the staff. But he sort of sits there a bit like this, doesn't really say it with any conviction or any energy. And actually, that was a theme for the whole podcast. He sort of, one thing that he commented on that was that I agreed with, but again, I didn't believe it, was that we lack an identity as a football club. That was the one thing that he said. And it was like, I agree, but what identity are you trying to instill in West Ham at the moment? Because I don't see it. So I don't know. It's hard. Everything that he said suggests that he was all right and was on board with what we've ended up with. But can he really? If everywhere he's been, he's always had that support system around him, the way that he does things, the way that he goes about things. I expected us to have almost that Stuart Pearce Moyes second time around situation, you know, where sort of Moyes weren't allowed his team. And then gradually they started to come in little by little. I thought we was going to see a bit of that. I think he has had one more.
Yeah, he's got his goalkeeping coaching. Yeah,
so he's had one coming, but I expected a few more by now. And yeah, going into the new year, I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe see a couple of more start to come in, because you need to get rid of that excuse.
I'll tell you where I was going to do a video about this, but sometimes I read the room a little bit, and I think it's probably not the right video to. Ironically, the guy that said I'm too negative, I didn't do this video because I thought it was too negative, but because I would feel like I'm just bashing Nuno. But I do think it's got to be having a big factor. It's got to be, because I know people think, well, the manager's good enough, he doesn't need his coaching team. I'll never agree to that. I don't see it as a weakness that manager needs his coaching team around him. I think it's just normal, like, to have people that you trust, people that you listen to. And it doesn't have to be the same people all the time. You've just got to have a support network around you. It can't just be a one-man band. I think that's dangerous. But when he first didn't come in, we did the video. I remember us doing the video. And a lot of people, we both said there's positive and negatives, and a lot of people agreed with us. But a lot of people also said we were just being negative for the sake of it. But we said, well, this is worrying, because where's this? You've got to get his backroom staff. So off the back of those podcasts, I mean, this is right back at the start of Nuno's tenure, I've asked a couple of people, because I thought, why are we not getting them? Is it because of Sullivan? What's going on? And I actually got asked two different people, and I tend not to do the Indian stuff. I don't like it. I stay away from it. But now and again, I don't know, it's quite big. I want clarification. I actually got two different answers. One said, yeah, we're not going to pay for him. But the other one said, oh, it's to do with Nottingham Forest and his time at Nottingham Forest. I thought, that's a bit of a weird thing. So I started asking Nottingham Forest fans, and they're quite consistent with their version of it, which is that Nuno has pissed them off. That his coaching team at Forest were quite happy at Forest and didn't want to leave Forest. So when Nuno went and started calling out the owner, they were like, wait. Then he got sacked, but they didn't get sacked. So I think they were a bit like, well, we're not leaving because we actually quite like it here. But you've got to remember, while we'll all go, oh yeah, but Nuno got a big payoff, the coaching team don't get paid anywhere near what Nuno gets paid. They're not on $3.5 million a year. So when Nuno gets paid off, he's like, hey, thank you very much. The coaching team, here's a couple of $100,000. Away you go. They think, right, okay, now we're out of work. How long are we going to be out of work for? Nuno can afford to take a year off if he wants to. The coaching staff perhaps can't afford to take time off. But I thought, well, this is interesting, but I had no evidence, none, until very recently. One of his right-hand man as well, not the goalkeeping coach, he's at West Ham. So one of them came to West Ham, which made me think, okay, maybe they haven't fallen out. But his right-hand man is at Wolves. He left Nottingham Forest and he didn't come to West Ham. So he's there, he's available. You would imagine if it was because Sullivan wouldn't pay for him, he would be straight in at West Ham then. He went to join Rob Edwards at Wolves. So he's now in Wolves' coaching team. And that's Nuno's right-hand man as well, which in my opinion, backs up the theory of the Nottingham Forest fans, which is they've maybe had a falling out. Not all of them, clearly. The goalkeeping coach came here. He's here. But the rest of them perhaps weren't too happy because they felt like Nuno just got a little bit too far there and lost him his job. Might not be true. I'm just passing on. I'm not going to put in the title or anything. I don't want to make a video about it and turn it into clickbait and stuff like that. So I'm just hiding it in this video. But anyway, that's what I was told. Passing on the information. Make your own mind up. But the last part is factual. He is at Wolves. So that would maybe tell the story. So there you go. Maybe not too exciting, but that's what I believe, Frankie. Ryan, thank you very much. Saying treat myself to a takeaway tonight, Gio. We are actually having a chippy tonight. Got this. Are you doing anything tonight, Frankie? Do you celebrate?
No, Gio, this people are going to think I'm the right weirdo, but I actually go to bed. I'm asleep by 10 o'clock and I set my alarm for 5 a.m. And I like to get up ahead of everyone else, thinking that I've got a head start on the year of what I want to achieve. So that's what I normally do. And I've heard some people mentioning this football team in the comments, but I love New Year's Day football. I've got a box with the chairman of Cray Wanderers down at Cholton because he's a Cholton fan. So we're going to go and make a plan for the season.
Love that.
Basically, our season's a spring season, and then you have a winter season. So we're going into the winter season now, and we're going to go and do that. And we're down at Charlton in the box. So yeah.
Well, you don't have a head start on me. Do you want to know why?
Go on.
I did stuff today that I was going to do tomorrow, so I've actually
Joe's a day ahead.
Yeah, I'm actually. It's 2025, and I'm living in 2026. Actually, I think we've got the sister-in-law, the Lauren's brother's other half. I think she's coming around tonight, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't really know. It's not really a thing for us anymore in New Year's. RD, thank you. Very, very kind support. As a Leeds fan, supporting our West Ham channel. Thank you. So I can see improvement in you guys. Should do enough in January to stay up. Would much rather see Forest go down, honestly. John saying, Shayla Wilson is older. Scarles' stats were excellent last night. Guys are saying Areola flapping at the corner was embarrassing. You weren't too happy with Areola, were you?
I wasn't. He flaps at everything. I know sometimes there's this opinion that punching it's better than catching it because it just gets it away from your goal. But there were times last night where you just think, put your hands on it. And the one time he did, I've got a big sarcastic cheer from the crowd, mate. Everyone was like,
bloody good claim, that one as well. He came well out off his line to get it. 12 yards off his line or something, and a crowd of players up high early, caught it, job done. I was impressed. Duncanio saying this isn't really down to Nuno. He's competent, which is all we hope for after Potter. I said last window that the attention was in midfield, but we'd soon find our centre-backs are inadequate. I still had complaints over the lack of centre-back and striker in the summer. So did Frankie. I remember after the window we were sat here moaning. Chris says, you know your stuff. He didn't say anything about the host. He just said to the guest. So he likes you. Terry saying Craswell is definitely someone we should be signing. Bill saying I've got no academy centre backs close to the first team. Can't be worse than Kilman. Surely he's an absolute liability. What do you think? Because I think two people that watch quite a lot of the under 21s. Would you suggest that anyone's capable of stepping up?
Enough a dodgy decision in the position that we're in to play an academy centre half. As we've said before, it's probably the hardest position to give an academy player an opportunity. Kilman had some real faults last night, gives the ball away far too much. I still just don't think that was our problem. I think we just put so much pressure on ourselves defensively by how we play and how deep that we sit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that fussed. One thing I did love about last night, though, was Ollie Scarles. And do you remember I used to whinge about Soufal, about not stopping the cross? Soufal always used to jockey, sit off, and the player would always get the cross in. Scarles was excellent last night about winning that ball before their wide player had a chance to cross the ball. I was very impressed with that.
Yeah. A6 saying, I don't think it means they've fallen out in regards to Nuno. If they were happy at Nottingham Forest, why would he leave for Wolves? Oh, I missed out a bit. They were basically put on gardening leave by Nottingham Forest. When Postecoglou went in, I think they retained their coaching status because Postecoglou, now for the first time in his career, he actually took people with him. Postecoglou, when he goes from job to job, doesn't take staff with him. So whenever he's moved job previously, he just leaves everyone and goes on to his next job, and he's got this whole thing of, I'm going to give the current lot a chance, I'm going to give them an opportunity, I'm going to meet new people, I'm going to learn new things, we're going to work together. That was Postecoglou. But weirdly, when he went to Nottingham Forest, he did actually take a couple of people with him from Spurs, which was the first time he'd done it in his career, I think. But they were still involved in the coaching. But when Postecoglou went and Dyche went in, and Dyche took his usual candidates, Steve Stone. Is it Ian? Is Don Ian Doan's first? Anyway, Doan and Stone went in with Dyche, and there's one other as well. They're all bald. So they all went into Nottingham Forest with Dyche. So I think he benched the current coaches. He basically said, I don't want them. They're not my coaches. So I think they went on gardening leave. So while they were happy at Nottingham Forest, they were then unhappy at Nottingham Forest. And I think that's the issue with Nuno, which is we had it good here, and now we don't have jobs. Well, we're getting paid to sit here. And I think they were on gardening leave, so that obviously if someone wanted them, you had to pay to get them, kind of thing. And Wolves did. He's gone to work under Rob Edwards. Mr. Spoonie, thank you very much for €5 super chat. Very, very kind of yourself. Charles saying Forest owner slapped a 5 million fee on Nuno getting his staff and El Cheapo Sullivan wouldn't pay. The thing is, what I will say is both things can be true. It could be that both are true, but then we paid for his goalkeeping coach out of Nottingham Forest, so there's evidence that Sullivan would pay the compensation, albeit for one of them. So I don't know. We'll never know the truth. Nuno has been asked about it in a press conference, and he said, I don't want to discuss it, and he shut it down immediately. He just wouldn't even entertain the discussion regarding, but it is what it is. We just got to move on. I think this is the difference. I guess this is one of the bad things about Nuno having such a small and consistent coaching team. Is whereas David Moyes is obviously, to use a different example, he's worked with a lot of coaches over his time. So actually, he needs Irvine, but like at Everton, he doesn't have Pierce, he doesn't have Nolan. But you'd imagine if he needed a new coach, he's got 3 or 4 he can ring up that he's worked with in the past and he can bring them in. Whereas Nuno perhaps doesn't have that because he only worked with like 5 in his time over his career or something. But God knows. Right then, do you have any opinions on the January transfer window? A lot of people asking what you want and who you want and stuff like that. But is there anyone you fancy right now, or are you just top striker, top centre back?
That's it. But like we said, it is time for them to go and put their money where their mouth is. It's going to hurt them. It's going to be painful. They don't like doing it. But I just feel like they've got to just put their hand in their pockets and go all out. And I know people are going to say, oh yeah, but who's going to want to come? Yeah, it makes it really difficult. They're going to have to overpay to get the right players. This is the problem that they've got. If they can go and sign someone who's happy to go into this position that we're in, and the risk of going down, they might have to put clauses in their contract that if they go down, that they get released from the club and stuff like that. It is going to be horrible for them as owners, and they are going to have to commit money. They've got to gamble, basically.
Yeah.
But they've got to do it. I just don't see any other option.
Yeah, I completely agree. Or expensive loans. Like, say, Larson at Wolves, I don't know, 5 million loan fee, and if we stay up, we buy him for another 35 million. If we go down, you get him back, but you've also had 5 million, so we borrow him for a few months for 5 million. So it's an expensive loan, but like you said, it's the gamble that you're going to have to take. We're going to have to start doing business ASAP, and it's going to have to be good business as well. It's got to be the right bloody ones. Wait and see. Anything you want to talk about before we head off, Frankie?
No, just to chat at the moment. It's a right back and forth about Paqueta, and it is going to be like that. I think there's no question that on his day, he is a fantastic footballer with bags of ability. He's just a bit of a fair weather player. He just loves being on top. He loves to play with flair, and he likes to try things, and we're just not there. I want to see that Brazilian favela street ball in Paqueta, who puts his foot in, gets his body in front of players. And we've seen that from him before. Paqueta has got that side to him where he just like really, he can be an aggressive ball winner who becomes a right blooming nuisance. I need to see a bit more of that of him at the moment. I don't want to see this. I'm going to keep trying balls over the top that don't quite get there. Trying the glory pass and all that. And I just want to see him play simple football, be aggressive, get the ball, get us up the pitch. And if he is playing in that false 9 role, which Nuno seems so insistent on doing, he's got to be a bit more mobile, and he's got to put in a bit more graft, because he's just a bit like a statue up there at the moment. So what we saw from him last night, the positive bit, was that playing him as a false 9 doesn't work because Paqueta's better with a game in front of him. He can play that killer pass to Bowen like he did, like we've seen him do in the European final, which got us the winner and won us the trophy. Paqueta loves the game in front of him. As soon as he's got his back to that goal and he's playing in that false 9, I think we remove all of the good of Paqueta. And yeah, that's what I think Nuno's got to change. If we're going to play Paqueta, we need to play him in a different way where he is most effective.
Yeah, good player in the right team. We're just not the right team. Like when we got beat by Aston Villa, when we did the player ratings, I said Paqueta would have looked good in the Villa team today because they were against us playing the type of football. I think Paqueta would perform well in. I just don't think we are it. And he definitely splits opinions anyway. And it's almost like the new Souček debate and like what used to be a Mark Noble debate and stuff like that. There's always a player that splits opinions down the middle. And I think Paqueta is that at the moment. And because last night someone in the watch along said, "Oh, where's all you Paqueta haters now?" And I thought, well, if you're aiming it at me because I wanted them dropped for a couple of games, well, I'm still here because it's taken you 60 games to say that at me, right? Right? You're always going to eventually. I remember the ex-player once said to me, "It's easy having negative opinions about football because you'll always be proven right." Eventually, just have a negative opinion and stick with it because eventually you will be proven right. But actually having a positive opinion is more dangerous because you won't always be proven right. And when that person, I think he was saying at me, might not have been, it might have just been that chap I thought, but how you've been waiting weeks to say this, and that proves my point. You've been waiting since September maybe to put that comment in, and then about 5 minutes later he conceded a penalty, and I was like, well, where's the Paqueta lover gone? He just doesn't hear it. He just splits opinions. I think good player, right team, we're the wrong team, and I don't think he wants to be here. The fact of the matter is he's spoken openly about how he spoke to the president and the head coach of Flamengo about getting moves in 2 different transfer windows. So listen, if when he goes, I've got no anger. I'll say thank you very much for Prague. Didn't quite reach your potential. Partly your fault, partly not your fault. Another player who I think arrived with a lot of ability. We've never seen the best of them at West Ham, and he goes on a list of numerous footballers before them, and I've got no doubt there will be numerous footballers after him as well. He comes in and think brilliant player, and then when he leaves, we're like, we didn't quite see the best of him, did we?
If I was Pep and I'm sitting there now watching Cherky, and I could have had Paqueta in that other window before his issue with the betting scandal, I know I'd be sitting there thinking I've had a right touch there. I know who I'd prefer.
Anyway, right, I've ended the poll, Frankie. So we've got over 600 votes. Question is, currently, do you think we will stay up? The options were, yes, we will stay up. I have no idea or strong feeling. And then no, we will go down. Give me your predictions. What do you think is the most popular category and what percentage?
I'm going to go 30 stay up, 40 don't know, 30 down.
You're quite off, actually. 53% of people think we're going to go down. 24% say I have no idea, and 23% say yes, we'll stay up. So a quarter, let's round it up and be kind. A quarter of the subscribers say we'll stay up. Half the subscribers say we're going to go down, and a quarter are saying no strong feeling either way yet. What will be interesting is if we win our next 2, I think that might drastically change. Lose our next 2, I think that will drastically change. And we might see 80% of people saying that we're going to go down. I think the next 2 games are massive. Anyway, Frankie, thank you. Been a pleasure. Thank you very much. I enjoyed that. Enjoy your early night and don't text me at 5 a.m.
I'll call you at 5 a.m. I'll be ready. We'll both go out for a walk and we'll have a phone call and we'll set the plan for 2026.
Tell you what, I went out for a walk this morning. So I woke up. The bin needed to go out. For some reason, I don't like putting the bin out the night before. I don't know why. I just don't. So I thought I'll just get up in the morning and put the bin out. Went out, went downstairs, put my shoes on, opened up the patio door. I thought, whoa, that's cold. Went outside, obviously just half asleep. Put my hands on the wheelie bin. I thought, this is freezing. Frost. I had frost. And I thought, this is excellent. So I went and got dressed properly and went for a walk. I like walking when it's cold, nice and crispy, because there's no one else walking. It's just me.
Freshened you up, mate. We went and picked the car up after the game last night at 10 o'clock and had to de-ice it. So we knew it was going to be a frosty one.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. If you're watching this later on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, please get involved in the comments. Obviously, I'm going to end it by saying we wish you all a happy new year. And thank you very much for sticking with us in 2025. We hope to see you again in 2026. But for myself and Frankie, thank you very much. Catch you in a bit.